Mission gone wrong. Those three words capture the essence on the shores of Cuba on April 17, 1961. This is the story of the Bay of Pigs invasion, a clandestine operation born in the shadows of the Cold War. It was an ambitious plan, crafted by the CIA. The objective was clear: to overthrow the new revolutionary government of Fidel Castro. This wasn't just about Cuba. It was about a much larger geopolitical chess game being played between the United States and the Soviet Union. The fear in Washington was that Castro's Cuba would become a Soviet satellite, a communist outpost just 90 miles from American shores. The seeds of the invasion were planted in the fertile ground of political upheaval. Following Castro's successful revolution in 1959, which ousted the US-backed dictator Fulgencio Batista, a wave of Cubans fled their homeland. On the moonless night, April 17, 1961, the invasion commenced. The plan was essentially to send in around 1,400 Cuban exiles to invade. Once they had succeeded, invite US support to assist with new leadership in Cuba. The exiles approached aboard a small flotilla of aging transport ships. Their destination was Playa Larga at the head of the Bay of Pigs. From the very beginning, things started to go wrong. The element of surprise, so crucial for amphibious landings, was almost immediately lost. Unforeseen coral reefs damaged some landing craft, slowing the advance and creating chaos in the darkness. More critically, Castro's intelligence network, likely tipped off by Soviet sources and local informants, knew an attack was imminent. The media played their part as well. The New York Times published an article about experts who were being trained to invade Cuba. His forces were on high alert. The initial airstrikes 2 days prior had failed to achieve their primary objective. The plan called for bombing runs by B-26 bombers painted to look like defecting Cuban aircraft to neutralize Castro's small but potent air power. President Kennedy's decision to cancel a second, more decisive wave left several of Castro's combat aircraft intact. When the invasion force landed, these planes were ready to fly. This failure to control the skies became one of the operation's most significant tactical blunders. The men on the ground were left dangerously exposed, without the air cover they had been promised and so desperately needed. They were met by the swift and determined response of the Cuban military. Castro himself took personal command of the counteroffensive. The invaders were pinned down by heavy fire, artillery mortars, and tanks. The swampy terrain around the bay, once seen as an asset by CIA planners, now became a trap preventing the brigade from breaking out and advancing inland. The Cuban Air Force, T-33 jet Sea Fury fighter bombers, began to attack the brigade's supply ships anchored in the bay. In a devastating blow, the planes sank two key vessels, Houston and Rio Escondido. With those ships went the bulk of the brigade's ammunition, communication equipment, and medical supplies. Stranded on the beaches with dwindling resources and no hope for reinforcement, the invaders' fate was all but sealed. The second day of the invasion, April 18th, marked the beginning of the end. Relentless pressure from Castro's forces, 20,000 soldiers and militia members began to tighten the noose around the vastly smaller invading force. Communication lines broke down among the units on the beach, and with the command and control ship offshore, leaving individual groups to fight on their own in a state of confusion and despair. By the third day, April 19th, the situation on the beaches was hopeless. Ammunition was nearly exhausted. The men were spent, having fought for nearly 72 hours without rest or reinforcement. Some tried to escape into the swamps, others attempted to swim out to US Navy ships. The organized resistance collapsed. On the beaches of Playa Girón, the dream of liberating Cuba died, replaced by the harsh reality of defeat. Over 100 members were killed, and approximately 1,200 were taken prisoner. The collapse of the Bay of Pigs invasion sent shockwaves through the Kennedy administration. Kennedy took full responsibility, leading to a major shakeup at the CIA and the dismissal of Director Allen Dulles. The prisoners were held in Cuban prisons for 20 months. The captured fighters were exchanged not for cash, but for $53 million worth of baby food and medical supplies. In December 1962, the surviving members were flown home to the United States, greeted by President Kennedy in a somber ceremony. The failure pushed tensions with the Soviet Union higher, and the direct line to the Cuban Missile Crisis just 18 months later is undeniable. Mission gone wrong. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and comment below if there is a minute in history you would like to see next.